Our speaker today is Tina. She is a Naples resident and a member of the Genealogical Society of Collier County and the National Genealogical Society. She has been working on her own genealogy for over 15 years. She has been the family historian and record keeper, so she has inherited thousands of family photos. So what she found is that many of these were not labeled with names, and as the wife of the technology executive and mother to children in technology, she thought there might be a way to utilize technology to identify the people in her photos. When she couldn't find a website to suit her purpose, she used her business background and knowledge of genealogy to build Related Faces, which uses state-of-the-art technology to help genealogists figure out who are the faces in their photos. So welcome, Tina, and go ahead and share your screen.
Oh, thank you so much, Allison. I really appreciate it. Awesome. Thank you again. And thank you to the Allen County Public Library for the opportunity to share with you what has been my passion for the past 4 years, and that is building a new and unique tool for genealogists. I think it's helpful to give you a little background about myself so you can understand my motivation behind building Related Faces. I was born in Valparaiso, Indiana, which is in Porter County. My 3 times great-grandfather immigrated to Chicago around 1853. In 1857, his mother brought over his daughter, Anna, and his son, Henry, and my 2 times great-grandfather. Henry had 2 wives. His first wife died giving birth to their 5th child, who also died 4 months later. He had an additional 9 children with his second wife. They are shown in the picture on the left, and the man circled is Henry's son, Henry. Henry Jr. is my great-grandfather. The Schloboms moved to Indiana around 1881. The house pictured is the Schlobom homestead, and I'm standing with its current owner on the back porch. The photo in the upper right is the William Foreman family. They are my great-grandmother Matilda's family, so you can see her and great-grandpa Henry circled. Tonight, I'm going to show you how these 2 photos helped me solve many of my photo mysteries. These photos are important because all of the people in both photos are known. From these 2 families, I inherited thousands of photos. When you have that many kids, you get lots of photos. After my grandparents passed away, we were finding photos everywhere, in desk drawers, in dressers, in the attic, and the mother lode, 5 large photo boxes under their bed. Having so many photos is a blessing, but a huge problem. I guess my family never thought about writing the names on the backs of those photos, maybe because they knew who everyone in the photos were. So what to do? Like everyone else with this problem, I broke out the magnifying glasses and sat with my dad, aunt, and older cousins. We passed photos around the table and did our best. We had some success for sure, but we also had many, maybe it's so-and-so, and just as many, I just don't knows. Being the wife of a technology executive, I thought that surely someone had thought of using facial recognition to help solve this problem. But there just wasn't a product out there really designed to deal with unknown dead people. Facial recognition on social media required an account for each dead person, and I don't have that many emails. Trying to rely on crowdsourcing didn't give me concrete information, and for many of my photos, I don't even know what country they were taken in. Through my frustration, I started to envision what we genealogists need and how a website for this purpose should work. So I decided to create one. As I started to develop Related Faces, I knew that all of my physical photos would have to be digitized. I didn't know the first thing about digitizing photos, and I made some truly terrible mistakes. Tonight, I'd like to share with you some of the things I learned the hard way. If there's one piece of advice I hope to leave you with today, it's do not use a document scanner to digitize your photos. At the beginning of this journey, I knew nothing about photo papers and developing. So I took my old photos over to my document scanner and started scanning. As a consequence, I have ruined forever almost a dozen photos. Some photos taken between 1880 and 1910 are on paper containing silver bromide or silver chloride. They look a lot like old style fax paper with a glossy finish. Bright light causes these photos to fade, and me, scanning them with a document scanner, has started that process, and nothing is stopping it. Even though I scanned these photos for nearly 4 years ago and have kept them in an envelope inside a file drawer where it is completely dark, the fading has not stopped. The two military photos are 125 years old, and I ruined them. To learn more about photo papers, I recommend going to the Northeast Document Center Conservation Center website. The website address is at the bottom of the page. They have a lot of really great information about photos, photo papers, and photo processing. I recommend reading the section about printing out papers and developing out papers. Aside from the risk of forever ruining your precious family photos, document scanners are likely to disappoint you with the quality of the digitized photo. After all, they're document scanners and not photo scanners. The resolution of most document scanners is between 150 and 600 dpi, which we all know means dots per inch. The resulting scans are often pixelated, also known as speckling. These images are no longer true photos. They're actually like photos printed in the newspaper, just a collection of dots. When these poor resolution images are run through facial recognition software, they may fail. Facial recognition is looking for specific points on a face. Some of these point measurements are made to map the face and then find the same or highly similar face. Images created from these round speckled dots look like faces to the human eye, but facial recognition technology can't always find a face among the dots, or sometimes it finds faces where there really aren't faces. So we do not recommend loading speckled photos into related faces, but I know that in some cases that may be the only photo you have of that person. So we have built a filter to identify photos that will return poor results, and it works over 90% of the time. We give you a notice if one of your photos triggers this flag, and we stop the loading process. First, I want to say that I'm not endorsing any of these products and have no affiliation with any of these companies. This slide is simply a representation of some of the products and services available to you if you have the means to purchase them. If you are uncomfortable digitizing your photos yourself, there are several companies who offer that service. If you are into technology and gadgets, overhead photo scanners are pretty cool. And when you add an image improvement software, you can do a pretty good job digitizing your photos yourself. After my debacle with the desktop scanner, I looked at products like those, but I have thousands of photos. So a service to digitize my photos was not cost effective. And the ScanSnap wasn't even a product yet. My family bought me a small photo scanner, but most of my photos are too big and the photos on cardstock can't go through it. My daughter, Grace, actually brought me the best solution. I believe she said something along the lines of, "Geez, Mom, your cell phone has amazing resolution, just use that." And you know what? She was absolutely correct. Along with great resolution, today's phones offer multiple capture settings and lightings. Some even have built-in editing programs. For those interested in digitizing with your cell phone, I'd like to pass along a few tips and tricks I've figured out over the past few years. First, practice. Take multiple snapshots of the same photo. Take one on photo, take one on portrait, try different light settings and sources. Also, try different locations in your home. Being aware of where your light source is can really improve the quality of your digitized images. Overhead lighting tends to cast both shadows and create glare. I have found that light from the side really makes a difference. Since your body is not between the photo and the light source, you don't get the shadows. And with the light angle coming from the side, any glare tends to bounce away from the camera lens. I have a west-facing window in my office, and in the morning and early afternoon, I get a lovely, soft, natural light coming in. I tend to avoid afternoons because direct sunlight is harsher, creates extra glare, and I am cognizant not to expose my photos to such intense light. If you look at the photo on the left, you can see that I use a cookbook stand to hold the photos I am digitizing. This is a great way to free up your hands, but more importantly, it's awesome at reducing shadow and glare. Try using your camera's digital zoom feature. It allows you to remain a little distance from the photo and still capture really clear images. After you have digitized your images, you can plug your phone into your computer and drag and drop the photos into a photo on your computer. Or if you prefer, Related Faces allows you to load photos directly from your phone into your account. Knowing there are many people with the same problem inspired me to develop Related Faces, where we help you find the same or similar faces in your photos, create people profiles, even for dead people, organize your photos and profiles, and enable you to collaborate with other users. I think the best way to show you what can be accomplished with Related Faces is to show you what I've been able to solve with my own family photos and how I solve them. Plus, a couple of new friends asked me to share their stories too. I want to start with the photo that started Related Faces. The photo on the left is my family photo. In the center is my 2 times great-grandfather, Henry Schlobem, and on the right of him is Angelina, his second wife. The 4 children from his first wife are standing in the back. On the right is a photo that my cousin, who descends from Anna, the oldest child, was considering throwing out. She called me one day and said she thought we would never know who was in the photo, but before she did, she wanted my dad to look at it. Of course, that got my attention. I jumped at the chance to make this our first test case. We put the photo into our prototype, and the results showed us that the 2 fathers resembled each other at 98%. As you can imagine, we were very excited. But since my cousin and I are both genealogists, we needed further evidence. We decided to investigate. The first thing was to check the birth order of the children. The photo on the right clearly shows girl, girl, and then boy. We determined boy because his hair has clearly been cut. Our family birth order was Anna, Catherine, then William, which matched the photo correctly. Next, we looked at the clothing. Our first child, Anna, was born in 1869, and William was born in 1876. We know our family did not have much money, so their fashion should be slightly dated. And we found that to be true when we researched clothing for the 1860s and 70s, and the styles fit very well. This made us very convinced that the photo on the right is the only known photo of our 2 times great-grandmother, Eleonora. But I still felt the need to have further confirmation. After we had developed Related Faces, I went back and reran the photo and came up with some great results. My mother from our photo resembled Henry, my great-grandfather, with a score of 81, Anna with a score of 99, and Catherine, the second daughter, at 96. But the result that really sealed our conviction is that she paired with Ida at 84.66. This is significant because Ida is the child of the second wife, Angelina and Henry. How is this possible? Well, Angelina and Eleonora were sisters. So Eleonora paired very nicely with her niece. And now we know for sure that we have a photo of our long lost 2 times great-grandmother, Eleonora. Now, before I go too deep in showing you how to use the output of Related Faces to help you with your photo mysteries, I would like to show you how easy it is to load photos and build profiles. We have built a very simple photo upload widget. On your computer, you can simply drag and drop a photo, or you can click on Browse and select a photo. Or you can log into Related Faces from the browser on your mobile device and load photos directly from that device, to include taking photos from inside the platform and loading them directly. The photos will also automatically save to your photo library. If your photo is sideways, we have built an auto rotation feature. There is also a manual rotation button if needed. You can then add any information you may know about your photo. No information is required, but we do utilize any information to enhance the results when you make pairings. The one thing we do ask is that you always name your photo. We also give you the ability to organize your photo and create photo boxes. After you click upload, we isolate each face in the photo and allow you to enter any data you know about each face. Again, no data is required for Related Faces to work, except that you either give each person a name, or if you do not know who they are or you're unsure of their identity, you give them a general descriptor. When you give an unknown person a general descriptor, you're telling related faces that you want this face compared against all the faces in your own collection. The reason we have designed the platform to use either a name or a general descriptor is when you give a person a name, we're going to assume you know who that person is. And what would be the point of filling your pairings page with images of pairings for a person you already know their identity? So keep the unknown people with general descriptors in separate profiles until you positively identify them and then merge them. Also, a general descriptor allows you to use descriptive names, such as might be Aunt Mary, or woman in a big hat, or second man from the left in 1940 family reunion photo. The name fields are only for names, but here too, we give you some flexibility. Each name category can add up to 5 fields. This is great for people who have nicknames, or maybe your relatives are like mine and some have 4 middle names, or maybe you have someone who was married multiple times and has several last names. Once you create a profile for a person, the next time you load the photo for that person, you simply start typing their name and then select their name from the menu. We also allow you to protect the privacy of living people by indicating they are living and selecting no. You do not wish to have their data shared when making a pairing. We encourage you to fill in any data you know, including birth and death dates, birth and death places, gender, and even military data. The more data, the more refined your resemblance score will be. Even if you do not know the person and have given them a general descriptor, you may know the photo was taken in a studio in Chicago. It's a female, and it's so old the person must be dead. Maybe you know, like some of my photos, the family that the person belongs to. You just don't know which sibling it is, so you may be able to add a birth location. All of these data points help us refine what we return to you. For photos with multiple people, just select next, and it will automatically advance to the next person. And when you're done, you can click submit. As I have mentioned, we create a profile for each person. I recommend loading photos and creating profiles for the people who you do know who they are first. These profiles then become sort of targets for when you load photos with unknown people. As you can see here, we present the faces that resemble each other in clear pairings, and we show you their resemblance number below the pairing. This number is not only the similarity between the two faces, but it also takes in all of that data you shared with us, so we can enrich the score and help you figure out the likelihood the two people are either the same person or possibly related. We also help you focus your searches. If you look at the top image just below the blue bar, you will see 4 buttons. These buttons allow you to filter your pairings by all your pairings, your own pairings, pairings with other users, or the Library of Congress pairings, so you can better focus on what you're looking for. You can also click on each pairing to view the whole photo that your person has paired with. We also show you any data associated with the photo. And if you pair with another user, we show you the data they have made available for viewing. If you pair with a photo from the Library of Congress, we give you the website address for that photo at the Library of Congress, and you only need to click on that URL, and a new window will open up and take you directly to that photo's page on the Library of Congress. You then have choices. You can sort your pairings to different pages. You can move it to hold it in a page for uncertain pairings. You can decline the pairing, decide it may be someone else, or make a match. When you make a match, we give you the ability to use radial buttons to acquire any information made available for that person and move it to your own profile. When making a match, you also receive a copy of the photo and the associated data, which are kept on the accepted photos page. Some of the other great features we built into Related Faces are a comprehensive help document. We give you the ability to communicate with other users you have made pairings with, the ability to organize your photos and people profiles into photo boxes and photo albums, the ability to search your photos, photo boxes, and people profiles, and sort by A to Z and Z to A. Plus, we give you a list of your people and your photo boxes. The people's list is clickable and will take you directly to a profile, and the photo box list will be clickable too. As a tip, I recommend creating both a photo box and a photo album for your work in progress. This enables you to keep multiple profiles for those faces you suspect are the same person in one location. It makes it easy to compare photos and faces side by side, and you can easily jump from profile to profile. If you make a mistake, don't worry. We have built-in editing and reassigning capabilities, and you can do that at any time. Related Faces was recently an exhibitor at the National Genealogical Society conference. While we were there, we met the nicest lady named Denise Griggs. Denise asked me a really great question. Can related faces tell the difference between identical twins? I actually wasn't sure. I don't know any identical twins to have been able to test it. I do have 4 sisters in my tree who look so much alike, and I have an example to show you later about them. But identical or even nearly identical, I wasn't sure. As it turns out, Denise is an identical twin, and she very generously brought us photos to use as a test. The results left us cheering. Related Faces was able to identify Denise's sister correctly in all of the pairings. For Denise, we had some mixed results. In one case, seen here in the top right, Denise actually paired better with her sister than herself. But Denise said she thinks that may have been because she was making a face in the photo. If you also notice below where the orange oval is, Denise paired with herself only 0.01% higher than she paired with her sister in those photos. So we still must use our genealogy skills in looking for details, but Related Faces is able to help us see those differences. Denise pointed out that her sister has a very slight underbite where she does not, and it is clear that Related Faces was able to discern that difference and correctly identify Denise's sister in every photo. I'd like to thank Denise for allowing us to make her a test case, and especially for insisting we share the results with everyone. Denise is the author of Glass Tree Books, and I encourage you to visit her site. Related Faces is intended to be another tool in your genealogy belt. Sometimes the results are very straightforward, but in most cases, Related Faces gives us a starting point, but we still have to do some old-fashioned sleuthing. And that work can lead to multiple mysteries solved, just like dominoes falling, one leading to the next. My own family, I don't have identical twins, but I do have the Foreman girls. My great-grandmother, Matilda Foreman, was one of 4 sisters who looked so much alike. We nearly drove ourselves mad trying to identify them in the multitude of unnamed photos my family has. I want to draw attention to a few photos. First, the photo of the 3 girls in the middle. This photo was key to how I worked out which sister was which. People in the same photo cannot pair with each other, so any pairings people in this photo make should point to a particular sister. Also, please note the 2 photos under the arrows. Notice the background is the same. We were certain the 2 girls on the right in each photo were Foreman girls, but we were not sure who was which. And the other girls were completely unknown, or so we thought. Through all of the testing we have done, one thing I figured out is to create those profiles for the known people first. Take the time to load those big family photos where all of the people are identified and build a profile for each of the family members. The reason for this is you are creating a kind of target profile. Here I am showing the profiles for the 3 older sisters. Grace was much younger, and that fact plays into my discoveries later. So how did I figure out who was who? I created a grid chart. I used the chart like you might use a timeline in your document search. It allowed me to compare and see what made sense. I made my chart on a legal sized sheet of paper and turned it landscape, but you could easily make one in an Excel or other spreadsheet program. On the left side, I positioned the photos where I did know which sister was which, and I used a letter of the alphabet to represent those photos. Across the top are the unnamed photos where I gave the people general descriptors. Here I represented the photos with a number, but gave each person in the photo a separate column. In the cells, I wrote the related faces resemblance pairing score. This score represents, on a 100 scale, how much the two faces and any associated data resemble each other. On the far right, you will see that the photo containing the three older sisters. This photo was key to figuring out all of the other photos, since all the sisters are in the same photo. The sister with the highest resemblance score compared with a name photo is most likely to be the sister, and the results prove that to be true. Please look at the top row sister, Matilda. As you can see from the resemblance numbers, letter A, face, for Matilda, paired the highest with the sister on the left in the photo. The sister in the middle also paired highly, but the resemblance number indicates that the first sister is Matilda. If you now look at the row for Louisa, you will see that the sister on the right very clearly paired highly with Louisa. Then if you look at the row for Lillian, you see similar results for her with the sister in the middle. Now that I know who is who in the photo of all three of them, I then went about comparing those faces and the other known faces to the rest of my unknown photos. If you look at the first three columns in the with the three photos of the girls in white, I use a similar method with those photos. It wasn't until I laid out many of my suspected Foreman photos side by side that I realized that these were confirmation photos for all four girls. I originally thought that the girls in column 2 and 3 were both the same girl, but as you can see, the girl in column 3 paired extremely high with Lillian, and the clothing style in the two photos are very different. Lillian was confirmed in 1896, and the clothing style is from that time, which confirms the results from related faces that girl number 3 is indeed Lillian. From the church records, I also found that Matilda and Louisa were in the same confirmation class. That told me that the two girls together must be Matilda and Louisa, but I still had to figure out who was who. By process of elimination, the girl in column 2 must be Grace, even though the blurry image of the child Grace did not pair with the older photo of herself. I did a clothing search for the clothing from 1915 when Grace was confirmed, and the clothing fit the time period. Also note that the girl in each photo has a bow in her hair, where none of the other sisters does. Additionally, Lillian was a married mother in 1915. Related faces figured out Matilda and Louisa for me. You can see the resemblance numbers returned by comparing the confirmation photos to the known photos of Matilda and Louisa in the first two columns. If you look at Louisa in the confirmation photo, you see an asterisk. The last photo also has an asterisk, and so does a resemblance number in the last column. That resemblance number is from the pairing between the photo of the three girls and the confirmation photo. It additionally confirms that Louisa is on the right in the confirmation photo. Moving on to photos 3 and 4. Now my dominoes are really starting to fall. If you look at Lillian's confirmation photo and the photo from earlier with the tasseled backdrop, related faces returned a resemblance number of 99.99 between the two faces. So fantastic. I have now identified another photo of Lillian. But who's the other girl? Honestly, never thought I would know. But the answer came when I was doing a search for Lillian's brother, Arthur Foreman. About 5 years ago, I was looking for community books on Porter County, Indiana, and the book on the left was on Amazon. Now, there wasn't a blow up of the book cover. It was just one of those tiny thumbnails, but one face jumped out at me, the face boxed in teal. I was convinced that was my Uncle Arthur, so I gladly bought the book and expecting that the inside the book would have a list of the people on the cover, but no, there was nothing written up about the photo at all. So I stuck it on my shelf and there it sat until I recreated related faces. And of course, I couldn't wait to see if I was correct, and related faces confirmed for me that that with a score of 99.74, that is Arthur Foreman. And I thought, how cool is that? Then a few weeks ago, I laid the book down on my desk face down and went down to eat some lunch. When I came back and went to pick up the book, I noticed the girl in the back and thought she looked very familiar. So I took out my cell phone and zoomed in on her face and loaded it into related faces. Immediately, she made a pairing, and look who she paired with, the girl sitting next to Aunt Lillian. Now, I was pretty excited, but I'm a good genealogist and I needed to confirm the find. Plus, I still didn't know her name. So I reached out to the Portage Community Historical Society, and Kathy Heckman kindly located the photo and sent me the names of the people in the photo. There was Arthur Foreman and Delma Nicholson Booman. So now I had two more photo mysteries solved. Well, sort of. I still couldn't figure out how Delma Nicholson Booman was connected to me, but the name Booman was really sticking in my brain, and I knew it from somewhere. I was thinking maybe it might have been a neighbor. So I went to Ancestry and I put Delma Booman in, and I found Delma on a 1930 census married to Emil Booman. Great. Then I searched for Emil and found him 20 years earlier living with his parents and his siblings, and bam, his brother Arthur's name jogged my memory. I jumped over to my tree and started looking on my Schlobaum side of the family. And there was the Booman name. So let me describe the tree. At the top is Henry, and second of his, or excuse me, and the one with the two wives, and Eleonora is his first wife, and we talked about them earlier. If you remember, their oldest daughter was Anna. You should be able to see her on the left in the orange box on the second generation line. On the right, on that same generation line, you will see my great-grandparents, Henry Schlobaum and Matilda Foreman. I'm in the lower right. If we go back to Anna and go one more generation down, you will see Anna's daughter, Edna Sonicson, is married to Alfred Booman. In the lower left is an insert showing Alfred and his siblings, and Emil is married to Delma Nicholson Booman. So Delma Booman turned out to be connected to me twice, through both my grandpa Henry Schlobaum and my great-grandma Matilda Foreman as her sister Lillian's friend. So does it always take so much work to get good results? Nope. I've had some very fast and unexpected results. One day I was loading this photo of Uncle Bill, Aunt Minnie, and their first son, Fred. I already had a profile built for Uncle Bill from the Schlobaum family photo, but I had to enter all of Aunt Minnie and Fred's data. So when I finished loading the photo, I was stunned to see that Aunt Minnie had a pairing. When I clicked on the pairing page, you could have pushed me over. I was stunned to see that Aunt Minnie and great-grandma Matilda's friend were the same person. Our family had no idea they were apparently best friends. Matilda died in 1909 from TB, and Minnie died in 1929. So the fact that the two friends married brothers was lost to us until related faces made the match. Also, while I was at the NGS conference this past May, a gentleman up in the upper left corner came to our booth and started asking us questions about related faces and what it can do. He had heard about our new genealogy tool and wanted to know if we might be able to help him with some photos he has. We told him we'd be glad to help if we could. He said he had to go to class, but he'd be back later with some photos. He did come back and brought us these three photos. The two photos on the left are of his grandfather, James Richard, and the photo on the right is a source of great debate in his family. He believed that the man on the right was also his grandfather, while other members of his family did not think so. It took us less than 5 minutes to enter the three photos and all of about 5 seconds to get the pairing results. We were able to confirm for Andre Kearns, the NGS conference keynote speaker, that yes, indeed, the young man in the photo is indeed his grandfather. Andre gave me a huge high five. We didn't know the man we were helping was the conference keynote speaker until after we gave him the results. I did know Andre has an infectious smile and a lively spirit. He is truly passionate about his genealogical journey and loves helping others, so we were honored to be able to help him. If you want to know more about Andre, you can read about him on the Family Search blog. As we were developing related faces, we were given the opportunity to capture photos housed at the US Library of Congress. Even though so many of these photos are poor quality and low resolution, we decided these photos could possibly open up new doors for many people. So how could we not add them to our collection? I will say, you will find the photos of children, especially these low quality ones from the Library of Congress, make a large number of pairings. After researching this phenomenon, we learned that children's faces do not start taking their final adult features until between the ages of 14. So their faces pair with lots of other children. We are currently developing an additional filter to help reduce the number of pairings and focus more on the most likely faces. This will be deployed in the next few weeks. You will also see that the Library of Congress has multiple copies of very similar images for many of their photos. So if you make a pairing with one of these faces, it may seem like you're seeing repeats, but they're actually different photos. So what can be done with the Library of Congress collection? I have personally found that 3 of the Foreman women, Lillian, Grace, and their mother Wilhelmina, all paired with one particular photo in the Library of Congress. Since this is a side of my family where I have some brick walls, I intend to investigate the origins of this photo to see if I can discern if this woman is an unknown ancestor of mine. If you have ancestors who served in the United States Civil War, either side, we hope you are able to locate your ancestor in the library's Civil War collection. There are hundreds of Civil War photos in that collection. We have done our best to remove the more graphic images, but be aware there are war images in this collection and you may pair with one. To assist your research, we provide the web address of the Library of Congress for each one of those photos in our database. Based on the settings on your computer, you should be able to click on the URL we provide and a new window should open up and take you to the page of the Library of Congress website. If clicking doesn't work, just copy and paste the URL into an address bar on your browser. Another motivation for integrating the Library of Congress photos is to help minorities. Many American Indians, Asian, Hispanics, and African American families have very few photos of their ancestors, but the Library of Congress has very large collections of photos for these groups. The woman here is Denise Griggs's mother, and Denise was very excited to see the pairing with the Library of Congress photo on the right. As you can see, there is a good resemblance between the two faces. If you also look, you will see that Andre's grandfather paired with 2 Library of Congress Civil War photos. I truly hope related faces can help these families find their ancestors. In the future, where might the solutions for your photo mysteries come from? The answer, the old country. Just as we love to share photos with our friends and families, our ancestors did too. They just did it through the Postal Service. The ties back to our immigrants' ancestors remained through those letters they wrote and the photos they sent. The interesting thing is that when they mailed the photos back home, they were more likely to write the names, places, and dates on the backs of the photos. In September, I was finally able to go to Sweden and meet in person my long lost cousin Johanna and the rest of my Swedish family. Johanna is just as crazy about preserving our family photo history as I am. So we set out to digitize as many photo albums owned by our elderly cousins as we possibly could. We successfully digitized 8 albums containing hundreds of photos. But here is the real interesting part. While going through the album, we found more than a dozen photos in Sweden that are exactly the same photos as I have. Also, so many of the photos in Sweden had identifying information on the backs of them, where mine had none. Here's just 3. The photo on the left are mine, the backs of my photos are blank. The photos on the right are the exact same photos from 2 of the Swedish photo albums, but as you can see, they're labeled with people, places, and dates. It is my goal to make related faces a great tool for genealogists across the world. My dream is that families divided by continents and time can be brought back together by their shared photos. For those people who are uncomfortable about taking a DNA test, I hope Related Faces is an avenue for them to find their family via the faces of their shared ancestors and some state-of-the-art technology. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time from your busy schedules to learn about our new photo-based tool for genealogists. And I heartily thank the Allen County Public Library for the opportunity to share Related Faces with you all. As part of that thank you, I would like to share this coupon for 30% off. And the coupon is also in the digital handout. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And remember, they aren't just photos, they're your family history.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. So just personally, I may have an account already because that was just really cool.
Well, thank you very much. And I realized I stopped sharing my screen, but I do, if anybody has any questions, I do have the ability to pull it up and I can show you the site live.
Awesome. So we did have a question. I wanted to start off with this about the difference between the 14-day trial and the coupon code. So the coupon code expires on July 10th, correct?
Correct.
So if somebody wanted to try it out and use the coupon code on July 10th, they could sign up for an account?
No, they don't need to, because when you sign up, you put the coupon code in, and then we start the 14-day trial period. So you can, if you like, this isn't for me, you can cancel it before anything is ever billed. So you get your 14-day free trial and you get your coupon code right when
okay, but they have up until the 10th to do that. So on the 10th, they could sign up.
Yeah, they can.
Perfect. Okay. Yep. I just wanted to make sure. All right, so let's take a look at some of these other questions because there's some really amazing things. A lot of people mentioned about the photo information. You know, before cell phones, someone used a 35mm camera to copy. So there's
that's a great idea. That's a great idea. You can still do it. You know, you're using your old digital camera. Just don't use that document scanner.
Fair. If you have a photo that's a mix of people you know and people you don't, do you make records for everyone or just the people you don't know?
No, you do both. So once you put a person you know in, you have their profile and you start typing their name and you just click. So we isolate each face in the photo. So if you know this one, you put that in. And then the ones, when it gets to the ones you don't know, you click on general descriptor and you put a general descriptor for that person. And then maybe you do know it was taken in the United States. Maybe you know it was taken in Indiana, and you can put that information in also. And this is spelled out with pictures in our help document.
Perfect. I also wanted to note that on the handout, there is an email address. So if you don't get one of your questions answered today, if we run out of time, or if you have a question that comes up later, you're playing around with the 14-day trial, or you have a question that just, I don't know, wakes you up at 2 in the morning, send an email. That's the great part about
I may not answer them at 2 in the morning, but I will get back to it. Usually I answer them the same day. There have been occasions where it has taken me 2 days to get back to them, which I apologize, but sometimes that does happen.
And that's fair. So let's see here. So someone was asking, or very early on before you made the disclaimer about children, about matching someone who's about 6 to 8 years old with someone who would be 60.
Right. Yeah, you're probably not going to have a lot of luck. I have had fairly decent luck with my Aunt Phyllis, but her face didn't change that much. But even when her really young ones, now her teenage ones will pair very nicely with her child ones. And up until she's in her early 20s, they were great. So it does seem to be more of a sliding window. My goal, and actually it's a project we're kind of working on behind the scenes, is to try to use age progression and be able to fill that in. But that's going to be, honestly, that might take us a couple of years to develop that, but we're working on it. And I think it's a great idea. But yeah, it is kind of like really old ones. I have one picture of Phyllis that, can I share my screen back?
Go right ahead.
Okay, so let me go back and share my screen. First of all, let me pull up, I'm gonna it's not letting me. Here we go. I want to throw these up here on our screen.
Go for it. I'm gonna keep putting the
Yeah,
hands
keep
out
going,
in the
and
chat.
I'm going to put this up here for you.
And I see that somebody said put your question in the Q&A. If you guys have questions, put them in the Q&A, please.
There are ways, and there are times when people are able to pair over a greater distance, you know, over many years. So here is my Aunt Phyllis, and you can see.
So who legally owns the uploaded photos while you're doing that?
So we are like Ancestry. We utilized what Ancestry does, and we take a lease. The reason why we have to have an irrevocable lease is because we share. It's how you make connections. It's the same thing on Ancestry. When you have one person that gets data from another person, we have to have the legal ability to transfer that information. So we do have a irrevocable license on that to be able to transfer the data over. But you own your photos, but anything you load in, we are going to use, because if you leave and you were to take the photos away and we had to pull all those photos away that you paired with somebody else, that's not very fair to them, because that's what they sign up for. So if you sign up, you understand that this is a photo sharing platform. There we go. Okay, so here are some photos of my Aunt Phyllis. Are you seeing them?
Yes.
Okay, so here is Phyllis. You notice she's a child here. You can see her 12-year molars are gone. So she's probably somewhere around 12. And this is a photo of Phyllis, and she's about 40 in this photo. And then you can see this photo also paired here with her when she was an older woman. So you can see the kind of the range. And then this one, they're nearly the same age. So does that help you understand how you kind of have to have age steps?
Yeah, that's actually really cool. Someone has a few photos that are faded and somewhat damaged. Should they try to enhance them before uploading, or would that skew the results?
No, we found that it really does not seem to skew the results as long as it's not overdone. And so, yes, we're not a photo enhancement or cropping, or, you know, you need to do all that before you load the photo. And if you have the enhancement, that's great. I have had some luck, even when the photo is not the best quality, of it pairing. It happened to pair with the correct face. But here's what happens when a photo is blurry. There's 22 points on your face that the system looks for. And then it takes measurements, like this corner of the eye to this corner of the eye, the corner of the eye to the nose, right? And then all these measurements go into the system. So if the face is blurry, the system has to guess at where those positions are. And if it can't get them, then it will leave those out of the calculation. So what ends up happening is sometimes blurry photos will end up actually pairing with people who it really isn't, because it's not clear and it doesn't get a good look at all the points on the face.
Perfect. And then, okay, so going back to, you were talking about the range of ages of a single person. Somebody is wondering if you could do something as wide as 40 years. So an 80-year-old to a 40-year-old.
Well, in the photo right here of Phyllis, she's 86. In this photo, she's 40. So that's a 46-year age gap.
Perfect. Great example.
Yeah.
Is there a maximum number of photos you're allowed to upload?
No.
Beautiful. So you kind of covered this a little bit, but somebody wants to know if they could use the software to maybe potentially identify a parent. So if they have a picture of, let's say, their grandfather and a picture of who they think might be the mother, could they use that to see if there's similarities?
Yes. Yes. And actually, this is not one of my examples that I use, but we have a friend who is adopted, and he had petition and had to fight in court to get his adoption papers. And when it came with one photo of a woman. And he had that photo, and he went and he acquired yearbooks from the correct year from the high school near where the adoption occurred. And he was going through the photo and he kept looking for this woman, but the name they had changed and they had protected her name. And so he didn't have the right person. So he kept going over her. And if he had had the Related Faces app at the time, we would have said, hey, look at this face. But what's really interesting is he sent us some photos of his mom. He didn't tell us who they were. He just said, please run these. He sent a photo of himself and his son and a woman, and we ran them. Now, she did not pair very highly with him at all. Okay, it was like, we wouldn't even have scored it. It was in the 20% range, but she paired in the 80% range with his son. So it skipped a generation, the facial features, which was kind of an interesting thing.
Huh. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So we're learning a lot of things too. We launched in February. We're loving feedback from people. I mean, like Denise, when she asked us about the twins, we were like, hey, great idea. Let's try it, So I love getting the feedback.
Awesome. Okay, so someone's wondering if there's any recommendations for daguerreotype tin photos. Have you been able to find pairings?
I don't have any of those. And if somebody's got some, I'd love to try them, because I have some of the ones that are kind of that metallic-y finish, but they're not the actual tin ones. And it actually worked. I loaded them. It read the faces. I have made pairings with it with some photos from the National Archives, but none from my own. But I think that's kind of interesting. I'd love to know the results.
What about like other types of photos, like, or even like a portrait, like a charcoal drawing? Would that
no.
even?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is something we actually debated about when we built the program, and we've actually removed all of the portraits and all of the drawings and all of the statues from the related, or the Library of Congress. And this is why we did it, because an artist can make something that looks like a person. You can look at that and you can say, yeah, gee, that looks like Abraham Lincoln. But Abraham Lincoln's face has those distinctive points. And we're looking for the same face in this one and in this one, or ones that are genetically, like they would be a family member that would pass on that genetics. So if you have a painting, it might look the same as the face, but the points that we're measuring off of aren't the same. So they're not going to make a pairing. They're not going to be the same. We've run the tests on it and we get nothing. So pairing, drawings and portraits are not going to return what you want.
There. Oh, this is a really good one. Uploaded photos, TIFF, JPEG. What do you want?
Yeah. So we take JPEGs, we take TIFFs, we take PNGs. I think we take WMFs also. So most of your standard formats. The one thing that we do find is an issue is you're going to have to keep your photo size down under 10 meg, preferably more like 5 meg to 1 to 5 meg. What happens is we find that when the uploading process, when we test it on our own system, we can upload big photos, but we find when you're doing it remotely from your computer and you're having to go through all the different channels, those larger photos get hung up. So I would say keep your photos 8 meg and below. Yeah.
Awesome. Someone's wondering if you can create 2 profiles of the same person, a young one and an older one.
Yes, sure. Just give one of them a general descriptor. If you do give them a name, say you do it, what's going to end up happening is that when you say this person is this, I gave them a name, and this person is this, I gave them a name, you're not going to get pairings between them because you said this person is this, they have a name, this one is this, they have a name. That's why we have that general descriptor. So if you have ones you want to load, but you want it to use a general descriptor and you kind of want to figure out if this person is that person, general descriptors will then pair against all of your different photos. You just take one photo, one general descriptor profile. Let me see if I've got an example of that. I should. Let me go to.
I was going to say, you have multiple screens going, don't you?
I do have multiple screens going. Can you see this new screen I'm dropping up there?
My people?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to show you what we did with Denise Griggs. This a little bit bigger. Okay, so here's Denise Griggs's photos. Okay, and you can see that we created profiles for Denise. This one says Denise's sister, right? And this one says Denise Griggs. Okay, we made a mistake when we did one of them. We loaded her sister into one of the other ones, we had to correct it. But all these others, you see where it says GD, Denise Griggs, GD. So the GD is what I do when I give somebody a general descriptor. I label it with a GD. And then that will tell me that this is a profile that I wanted to pair against all the other ones. And then also, if you notice in the list, it says name, GD, GD, GD. That tells you all the ones that you're attempting to pair against known faces. Does that help?
I hope that helps the person. There's so many questions in here. But one of the ones that I actually think needs to be answered is, what is the cost?
Okay. So I tried really hard to price it very reasonable. Okay. So 6 months is $64.99. And 1 year, we went ahead and reduced it. We were going to do 129, but we've got it right now at 100. And then with your coupon, you get an additional 30% off either one of those subscriptions. So we're new. We need people to use it, to tell other people about it. And so we're being very generous. I can't say that it's going to stay this low for forever, but we really do want to get everybody using it and to help give us feedback and all of those things. So,
oh my goodness. Okay, there's 35 open questions and we're not going to get to them all, guys. There's so many amazing questions. And that's fine. I think there are a lot of questions that you guys need to send to Tina, because I think there's some really good questions in here that really need to be asked. I'm going to throw one out. Someone's asking about Canadian records. So we have Library of Congress, a link, but what about Canadians? Is that something that you guys work with?
So the Library of Congress happened because we reached out to them and they gave us what's called an open API, which is like, here it is. We have this API and now you can develop an interface with this. And so you get an agreement with them and then your API can go out and I guess troll or crawl, I think is what they call it, crawl through their site. And so we were able to get those photos that way. Right now, that's the only group we have an agreement with. So if they have a contact and they want to send it to me, and if the Canadian government is open to it, then we can work on downloading those also at some point in the future.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Okay, so guys, we are out of time and I'm so sorry we can't get to all of your questions. Something that you guys may or may not know, and this is something that's slightly frustrating about Zoom, is it does not save the Q&A questions. It does not save the questions. I can't send them later on. They can't be sent out. We can't answer the questions at a later time. So please, please, please utilize the email address at the bottom of the handout. If you have a question for our speaker, if you have a question for us at ACPL Genealogy Center, please email us at genealogy@acpl.info. We want you to be successful. We want you to have an amazing time with whatever genealogy research you are doing. So I am so pleased that you all were able to join us this evening. And Tina, thank you for a wonderful program. I'm so excited to dig into this
Thank you.
because I now have an account. So
Yay,
yay!
yay, I'm glad. And thank you so much. And truly, if you have questions, send them to me. I mean, if there's a lot of them, I don't know how long it'll take me to get back to everybody, but I will try. And I do give support. I mean, there's been some times where I've had people call me and they're like, I'm stuck. And then I, figured out what they had done. And we did a Zoom call or Teams call, and we figured out what they had done. So I'm very happy to help, because I'm like you, I built this because I needed it. So I thought you guys needed it too.
And that's amazing. So thank you again, Tina. I'm very excited about this, and hopefully everybody here is as well. And thank you again for attending another Genealogy Center program. Please join us for our next one on Tuesday. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Bye, everyone.
Bye.